In this video, we'll look at how to fix cin.ignore break-in getline and what causes it and how to handle input properly. So this video is an inspiration from a comment I got on the video on my video titled C++13 using cin.ignore. The comment says, sometimes if I use cin.ignore, my output has a missing word in the beginning. How to overcome this? So let's have a look at this is the same code that we used in that program, C++13. And let's have a look at what we mean or what that comment actually means. So if we run the program, and let's just say, how many users would you like to create? And I say two, test, test two. And this is working exactly as it is, as it should be. So what does the comments mean? If I comment this out and run it, it's taken a long time to build it, but and we say two, we can see that it actually skipped the first input. And the time we made the video, it was to actually fix that particular problem. However, the comment still says sometimes even with cin.ignore, the output is still missing a word in the beginning in the same way that we've got here. So let's have a look at why we have that. So this can happen. Let's just say that I undo this and we've still got cin.ignore and I build again. And I'm going to try and simulate what could happen to kind of replicate what the person asking in the comments could happen. So let's just say I wanted two records, but I then also put in space. That's gonna give us that same behavior that the comment is asking. Although we are still using cin.ignore, but we still have a missing word in the beginning. And the question was, how do we overcome or how to overcome this? And that's the purpose of this video. So what happened here, the cin.ignore that we have here managed to ignore only the space because I had a space here, but not the new line. So the new line came here. So it sees, so what happens is when we went to getline, see and enter the user's full name for this part here, it still sees that new line. So cin.ignore managed to only ignore the space. And when I hit enter, the new line was still sitting in the buffer. So that's why it returned an empty string. It took that new line as the entry. So what happens is that the first user's name is skipped or just appeared as blank. And the rest of, now I'm able to just put in a second name. Okay, so the fix to this is to use cin.ignore, but I'm gonna pass in numeric limits, and let's use stream size. Got it. Stream size to the max, and now we'll put in a new line like this. So what this pretty much does is it will flush the buffer correctly, or basically fully. Okay. So what did that mean? And actually, to use numeric limits, we also need to include or import the limits on top. So let's copy this line and limits. Yeah, awesome. So let's come back here and just explain what we've done here. What this line pretty much tells the input stream. It tells it to ignore characters until either it has ignored the maximum possible number of characters or it finds a new line. So pretty much what this line does is it ignores everything left in the buffer until you reach a new line. So no matter how many characters there are. So let's run, let's build and run and just make sure that this actually works as expected. And let's just see if the program works as it should. So I'm going to put a space and more spaces and then enter. So no matter how many spaces I add, what it's going to do is it's going to ignore anything that's sitting in the buffer until it reaches that new line when I hit enter. So that's going to basically ignore the maximum number of characters that is possible until it reaches a new line. So this is the fix to why sometimes cin.ignore won't work properly. So the question is, when do you use or which one is better? Cin.ignore on its own or when you use numeric limits. And it's basically ignoring the maximum possible number of characters or finding a new line. So basically you use cin.ignore when you're sure that the buffer has just one leftover character, like a single new line. Like you know for sure the user's not gonna put in extra spaces or whatever. So example, after cin a number is in simple or controlled input cases. Whereas you use with cin.ignore with numeric limits when you're not sure what's left in the input, like if the user enters extra characters before pressing enter. So this way approach, it avoids surprises and makes your input handling cleaner and more robust. So it really depends on the application of your program. But this was an amazing comment. Thank you so much for asking this question. And I really appreciate more questions from my audience. I do hope this video has helped resolved your question, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.